Hello and welcome to this review of my Whitefox Eclipse keyboard. This keyboard was a donation from Alpaca Keyboards. They sent in 2 different versions, no less. They practically begged me to do this review, and even though I was quite hesitant at first, I managed to get enough material for a review when I came up with the idea of putting mute BOX Jade switches in here, which I hadn't covered before, making this a nice twofer. The Whitefox Eclipse is based on the Whitefox keyboard, which in turn was based on the Brown Fox keyboard, both designs by Matteo, although he didn't design this Eclipse version. The Brown Fox was a custom-built keyboard Matteo built himself, while the Whitefox was a mass-produced version in partnership with Input Club and Massdrop. Alpaca, who launched this one in Kickstarter last year, are a split-off from the Mech Keys team on Massdrop, who, with Matteo's consent, picked up this project and came up with their own version. The whole Fox series are small-form keyboards. I must admit I got so fed up with the lack of buttons that I switched to my Wooting 2 for a few days, just to give myself a bit of a break, but I did still do the customary week of testing. But anyway, size is just a matter of taste anyway, and considering you're watching this, there's a good chance it's more to your liking than it is to mine. The one feature why I finally agreed to review it is that the case is hot swappable. Now, drop-in keyboards are of course not unknown, but this is a very peculiar idea of a magnetically attached top case, which is interchangeable with other top plates. Now, this one is just pure white, and you can have an open case floating switch design as well, which is this one, the other model, the one that I stuck the Syracuse keycaps on that I reviewed recently, if you're wondering what these are. Currently, I think this is their only top plate, but apparently they envision a whole spectrum of models they want to market eventually, or allow others to do it themselves. Basically, they're trying to market a new keyboard platform more than just a specific model. Now, as I'm not too much into modding keyboards beyond maybe swapping the switches and the keycaps, I'm probably not the best reviewer for this keyboard, to be honest. But I figure you can doubtlessly make up your own minds in this regard. The 2 keyboards are certainly not light, I'll give them that much. They are small, only about 35.5 centimeters wide. Or for my imperial audience, here is a conversion chart I put together for you. But despite this compact layout, it weighs a whopping 2.4 kilos. Which is ridiculous. That's 10 or 20% more than a Model M in half the size. And I think this makes it about triple the weight of the original Whitefox as well, although I'm not 100% sure because of the absurd measurement units the Kono store uses on their website. On the floating switch model, which is substantially lighter by the way, about 1.2 kilos, you can see that you can quite easily take out the whole guts of the keyboard like this. Now, that just feels unnatural to me, to be honest, but whatever, I guess that's the whole point of the keyboard. You can do the same on the enclosed model, by the way, you just need to take the top plate off first. I still feel like I don't really get the point of all of this, by the way, but there you have it. The feet on the floating model are also interchangeable, as they're also magnetic. It's these weird conical things which look like really hard nipples or something. I think that was also something that was on the original models, but these ones come off pretty easily, I've noticed. The magnets are not strong enough to keep them on tightly if you're messing around with the keyboard. It's happened twice to me already so far, so keep an eye out for them or you might lose them. Apart from the interchangeable top plate and feet, you can also hot swap the switches, of course. I can't recall what it had originally, but I figured this would be a great opportunity to talk about these mute BOX Jade switches, which I've admittedly had lying around for a while. I got these from Novel Keys, which took me quite a while. I'll put a link in the description for both the keyboard and the switches. I figured these switches would be a great match for this case, as the Eclipse is a very dense, pre-foamed chassis that significantly deadens switch sound as well. So you should end up with something pretty quiet if everybody did their jobs right. Normal BOX Jade switches are one of my favorite modern switches and also one of the crazier ones. There was a whole slew of experimental box switches, but I think Jade, which is one of the later ones to be developed, is the one that caught most people's attention, if not their imagination. They are extremely tactile and noisy, both by virtue of its click bar mechanism, which is capable of generating stronger tactility and a louder click than a standard click jacket-based MX type switch can. This is why the click bar, which unlike Hall effect and optoelectric switches has no vintage origin as far as I know, is such a nice innovation in my opinion, and it definitely caused a bit of a paradigm shift, I think. Of course, some people are going to want the tactility but not the deafening noise, and so a suppressed version was bound to happen at some point. However, unlike most suppressed switches, this doesn't feature a rubber landing pad at the bottom of the switch housing or something, which is good because that generally affects the key feel quite negatively due to added mushiness. A peculiarity of the click bar mechanism is that it doesn't click downwards like MX Blue, but upwards, which means that the dampeners can be put in the top of the switch where they shouldn't impact key feel a lot. The housing also looks slightly different from the inside, but that may be an independent revision. An interesting notion here is that this is a very rare instance of a dampened clicky switch, while most silent switches are based on non-clicky tactile-only designs. However, despite all this, I'm sorry to say that the key feel is still strongly affected. This doesn't feel anything like BOX Jade, if I'm honest. If you press the keys very slowly, you can still feel that there's some sort of well-defined tactile event, but if you're just typing normally, they feel like they're half filled with sand or something, and the tactile event feels rough and dirty. The lower half of the key press especially has become very crummy. It's quite unpleasant, I'm sad to say. So it's no longer a clean, sharp, snappy feel, but more of a weird, freakish, and slightly too stiff sensation. These switches are quite tiring on the fingers. It's pretty silent, yeah, and you might still like the key feel, but if you come into these expecting something that feels like actual BOX Jade, you might be disappointed. It is quiet, I'll give it that, and they're not mushy either, so they did succeed in their main objective, I guess. But in the process, they've lost the feel of the originals completely, I think. So ironically, if you hate normal BOX Jade, you might actually really like these. Overall, I can't say I really enjoyed my time with this keyboard or its switches, but of course that's just my opinion. I know there are lots of people that like small keyboards, silent typing sounds and non-snappy tactility, so this might be perfect for them. That's it for this review. Thank you for watching, I hope you enjoyed it, and following is a typing demonstration of me typing on this keyboard.